And welcome to another episode of The Unwind. Today, we're talking about money as a woman, as an immigrant woman. So, girls talk about money. We have a very special guest. I'm trying to get I'm trying to get some differences of opinion here, right? So y'all know I'm a single mom of two. So my perspectives will be different about money and women and relationships compared to someone who's happily married or someone without kids, right? So today, for our guest speaker, the very lovely Wajida. Hi, Wajida.
Hi, Khalees. How are you doing?
I am great. So, for those of you who don't know Vajida, she's the second half of the Financial Coaches Canada team. So we have Andre, we have interviewed multiple times, and Vajida is usually like the keyboard warrior in the background. Like,
The moderator.
but we're now getting to grab her and get her on here. Vajida, please introduce yourself. I feel like persons
Yes.
don't know you at all.
Thank you so much for having me today. Khalees asked me to do this, and I was like, me on camera? Okay, I got this. But you know what? Women and money, it's a topic that's important to me. It's near and dear to my heart. So I'm glad to be on here to talk to you guys about it. And just a little bit about me. I joined Andre, my husband, in business about 3 years ago. So I was very much the corporate girl. Okay, very much the corporate girl. I was a VP of sales and marketing for a software company on a trajectory, a very specific path. Okay, this is what I do. And I started to see how important finance is for people, and yes, specifically for women. It started to touch my heart a little bit, tug at my heartstrings. And fast forward, I joined Andre in business and decided to quit my job, right? Cold turkey, by the way, which was hilarious. So I started the business with him, and I said, this is what I want to do, because I have seen firsthand, myself, family members, friends, different situations, how important it is. And, it's different when it comes from, a female voice. So that's why I
Mhm.
joined him in business, and that's why we do what we do.
So, Vajida, you're like the perfect person to have this conversation with because apart from being a woman yourself, you are a woman in finance, right? So you and your husband, you'll help people to get financially ready for life, right? Because
Yep.
life just be lifing. Life just be like this past week. I know Andre. I saw in your stories. Andre had a bit of an accident like 2 weeks ago. I was
So we
sick in hospital. Life just be lifing, and life is so much more difficult when you're not financially prepared to like
Oh,
stomach
yeah.
the storms of life, right?
Sure.
And then as a woman, I feel like if we are a lot more vulnerable
Mhm.
for many different reasons. So we're gonna get into that. I'm happy that you're able to join us because I really want to touch on this topic. As an immigrant woman, I know you're also an immigrant. Oh, did you tell persons where you're from?
No, so that's an interesting one. so, so I'm Pakistani, but I grew up in Nigeria for the first part of my life, and then I moved to the East Coast in Canada when I was 12, and then moved to Toronto, and then I was living and working in the Middle East in Dubai for a long time, and then I
Ooh,
came back. So I've been all over the place. This is the short version, by the way. So
I love that for you. Snaps, snaps. I love that for you.
So we
I love.
connect on the whole travel thing, by the way.
Yeah, I think I missed the Dubai one. I know the Nigeria one. I know the
Yep.
Nigeria one. I know. Okay, all right. I see you. I see you. Right. So let's dive into this hot topic. Immigrant women are vulnerable, right? Immigrants are vulnerable in the whole, but immigrant women tend to be more vulnerable than their counterparts, right? Just because in general, women tend to be more vulnerable financially for many different reasons. I think we probably don't earn as much. We don't have as much opportunity. We have to think about the kids. We are limited in the types of jobs we can take. We have to take maternity leave, which kind of sets our career back. We tend to be more educated, but less experienced, right? And some of the higher earning jobs, we just can't qualify for it because we have other obligations because we're taking care of everybody else and then ourselves, right? So because of that, immigrant women tend to be the most vulnerable people, right?
Yeah.
How
You described.
what are some real ways that we could combat this?
Yeah. Okay. So I love what you said. That oftentimes that immigrant women are more educated, but maybe less experienced because of life situations and,
Mm-hmm.
raising kids oftentimes. But you're very right. Women are highly affected when it comes to the area of finance for multiple reasons. Often it's cultural. I will say this. I see this a lot. It's cultural in the sense that in a relationship, if somebody is married or partnered up, you do take on different responsibilities, but many times the burden, let's call it, of the finances falls to one person's shoulder. And oftentimes culturally that can be the male, right? And depending on where you're immigrating from, that also has an impact. And what we're seeing a lot of is it's the women who are like, I want to take charge of this. Enough
Mm-hmm.
is enough, right? I want to know what's going on. I want to know how to get ahead. I want to know if I have kids, how can I do all the right things by them and make sure that they are not in a vulnerable situation in the future. So
Mm-hmm.
what we always say is equip yourself. Just like you're going to battle, equip yourself, right? You were talking about war and your name. I saw that story. So, you want to make sure that you have all the tools you need. And literally that means educating yourself.
Mm.
People, forget people coming to Canada that are new. If for those of you who didn't grow up here, you don't get taught any of this in school. They are now starting to teach it. They are now starting to teach really good things in high school, but not every school, about financial literacy. But even people here did not grow up with this. So you sort of leave it to your parents or leave it to someone else, whether that's your spouse, your friend, the person at the bank. You leave it to someone else. So what we say is don't leave it to someone else. Understand what you need to know, and then you can choose the right expert to help you with it. So for
Mm-hmm.
example, women that we speak to who might be single moms, right? Or who might be single or who might be married but are taking more of the responsibility of the finances in the home in terms of managing it. We say, okay, here are some of the things you need to learn about. What is an FHSA? What is an RRSP? Does it apply to you? Does it not? What
Mm-hmm.
should you not do? Because it's also about what you should not do when it comes to your finances. And I know you and Andre have talked about that previously. So we kind of, hold your hand and we guide you and say, okay, here's where you're at. Here's the capacity you have right now of how much information you can take. So
Mm-hmm.
let's break it down for you. So my number one advice would be get yourself educated.
That's easier said than done, man. We're tired.
There's,
We are
there's a lot
tired.
going on.
Oh gosh, I think I speak on behalf of all immigrants, women who go, especially newcomers. We're tired, man. It's like so much being thrown at us. I'm not even gonna lie to you. Like taking myself back to that first year when I first landed in Canada. Yes, I went and I spoke to a mortgage broker and I spoke to a financial person, but to say I dedicated myself to financial literacy, far from. I never even had a credit card before moving to Canada. So even simple things like learning about credit was like, you're talking gibberish, man. You're talking to it's like too bad, too much.
Different society operates differently, right? I get it. No, you're
What?
right. There's only so much, and that's why I said it depends on your capacity and your desire and your time. Because
Mm-hmm.
guess what? People who are moving here are even busier, right?
Mm-hmm.
Even busier. So
100%.
it's how much can you handle? Do you want, you want to talk to Andre and I and say, guys, what do I need to do? Okay,
Yeah.
tell me, let's do it. That's fine.
What's
You
gonna
want
just
to,
keep me above water while I figure this
sure,
out? Like,
yeah,
what to not
there's
do?
nothing
What's
wrong
gonna
with right? What you don't want is to say, I don't have a handle on it, whether
Yeah.
it's you yourself or someone else. Say, I got a money guy. I got a money girl taking care of it. That's
Yeah.
fine,
Yeah. Gotcha.
right?
So another thing that I see as well is in some cultures, women may not be not, I wouldn't say allowed, but it may not be culturally normal for a woman to be working, right?
Mhm.
And then you migrate to Canada, and all of a sudden now, well, most families here, the men and women work, or the two partners work, right? Two spouses, two persons
Yeah.
work. So it's like a newfound responsibility in addition to a newfound freedom for a lot of women who move to Canada, especially according to which area you're moving from. And this newfound responsibility and freedom comes with a lot of positives and negatives, right? So, what do you think about splitting bills 50-50 with your spouse?
Very good question.
I want to know your opinion.
Here, I don't know how much you're going to love this answer. There is no right answer. I say this because I would have given you a different answer 3 years ago, 4 years ago, had I not been in the financial space. Being in the situation that I am, married, we were both earning, it was just everything goes into one place. We don't look at how it's split after that.
Right.
That's
Okay.
our situation, right? Everything just goes into one account. Okay, then we handle everything together. However, we are seeing a shift, and this is not just for new immigrants, this is for just generationally. We are seeing a shift in individuals within a marriage or within a relationship handling their finances separately. We are seeing a lot of that, regardless of whether they're new immigrants or not. So if you want to handle your finances separately, that is okay. If you want to pool it in, but then kind of budget that, well, my salary is more, so I'm going to pay 60% and you're going to pay 40%, that's okay. It really depends on your relationship, right? Because we are talking about couples here, specifically your relationship, your financial situation, and, who's shouldering what burdens and responsibilities. Because many times one might not be working, but guess what? There's 3 kids under 4 at home. Right? I'm sorry, but guess who's paying the bills? The other one. The other one, right? So as long as you don't feel that there's inequality in terms of the weight of the responsibility, then it really doesn't matter how you distribute that, that income towards your bills and your goals. Now, let's assume 2 people are earning kind of similar. They're both working. Unfortunately, still in North America, I was discussing a study the other day with my niece, especially women of color, right? We are still shouldering more responsibility at home, out of work, despite being more educated, as you said, and despite working harder. So there is still a lot more responsibility on women's shoulders. And I do think that needs to be reflected. This is a personal opinion. That needs to be reflected. You know where I'm going with this, in how the bills are managed when you're both earning equally. Because guess what? The likelihood is that the female is still doing more somehow. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just the reality as it stands today. So I think that in that case, a couple should look at their situation and say, well, I have no hours in the day. I'm doing this, I'm doing that. You need to shoulder some more of the financial responsibility. And it has to be a discussion, right?
I get you. I don't want to be unfair either. Y'all know in my stories, I talk about this often. Well, not very often. Recently I mentioned it that, going 50-50 with a man is nonsense. Nonsense.
I did hear that.
I had to I know some men in my stories was rolling the eyes at my head, and I was like, yes, I said it. Right? I said what I said. And the reason why I say that is because being a mother, right? From the perspective of being a mother and having to physically go through the trials and tribulations of childbirth, that in itself deserves a reward, right? But then thereafter, taking on the work of being a mother and not just the physical, make the milk, whatever, but the emotional labor of being a mother as well, right? So when a woman is waking up and thinking, the kids did this, did that, this one, doctor's appointment, teacher, blah, 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 blah. The average man probably not thinking about half of those things. Right? And I mean, both going out and working. I mean, but then it was 50-50, then it's not 50 for me, then it's actually like 80 for me. Because I'm doing extra things as well. And then in the event of a divorce, you then, your savings are necessary to continue with your sweet life. But in most cases, the woman is stuck with the bearing of the child raising. I don't know if I'm making sense here. And I think it's all according to like culturally too, how it works in your culture, right?
It all plays a role, but you're absolutely right. It is still predominantly the woman who takes on more responsibility overall. Like if we look at it as a pie, you're both working, but if you have kids, actually, you know what? Even if you don't have kids, females tend to take on a lot of the, let's call it non-tangible, right? Mm-hmm. Non-tangible chores, errands, brain work, whatever it is, right? Exactly. Exactly. I hope Andre's not watching this. I think he is.
Andre is strangely quiet in the comment section. He's like, oh shoot, I don't even know that.
we do a lot of stuff that is not tangible. So it takes a special partner to understand that
Yeah.
that has a lot of value, and it takes standing up for yourself to say it has value, and to show and to ask. A lot of times, depending on your personality, some women won't ask. It's just, well, this is what I'm supposed to do. Who said that? Who decided that? No, you need to talk about it and say, this doesn't make sense. I'm doing this. I need this from you. People
Yeah.
have to talk about it, because you're right. Every relationship's different, and it's not equally distributed right now.
And I know that for persons in the comment section, by the way, in the comment section, drop your thoughts. Drop your thoughts. I really want to hear a person's perspective. It seems like a non-issue for most people until they migrate. Because you're moving into a country which has different expectations of you.
Yeah.
Right? No matter where you migrated from, when you move to a different country, the finances are different, the cost of living is different, the culture is different. These things cause divorce. Like not understanding or not being able to communicate these things lead to a lot of trauma and tension in relationships for newcomers.
Yeah.
It's a discussion that always takes a toll on a newcomer couple, right? How are we going to live our life in this new society where the expectations of us are different? I think open communication is important, but then the understanding of what women do, that silent work, is also important as well, right?
Yes. Yeah, and a lot of men do not understand that, unfortunately, and it's an uphill battle, right? And it has been for decades, and hopefully it won't be so bad for kids going forward, but it is an uphill battle, and it is a conversation to be had before you get here. But unfortunately, no matter how much you prepare before coming here, you're thrown by all the new things you're learning, all these surprises, all these new costs, all these new developments. Maybe you have another kid. All sorts of things happen. One spouse might be studying, one might be working.
Right? That's true.
We see a lot of that.
True.
Right?
That is a dynamic that is very popular as well, where one spouse is studying.
Yeah, we see a lot of that in the newcomers, and it takes a mental toll, because you're one supporting the other in whatever shape or form, and it takes a mental toll. And you guys have said this before to us. It tests your relationship. It really does. Moving here, and as a female, you feel all sorts of different things. You feel responsibility. Maybe you weren't working back home, but now you're like, okay, I need to do this while also raising the kids, while also contributing. There's so much. I also think inherently females take a lot onto themselves. It's just a natural thing for us to do. Sometimes men are very chill about life. They're like, yeah, it's fine. Yeah. Everything's fine. And we're like, no.
What I see, and by the way, someone said I wanted to ask something, but because I know he in the comments talking about Andre, I want to spare Wajida. The ladies say, I have more work here than I did in Trinidad. It's overwhelming. It takes a lot of energy. Mind you, Nalini is an upper employee. So,
you're putting her to work.
So Nick said living in Canada is stressful. Why is 50-50 an issue? That's a good. Thank you very much, Nick. Thank you. Nick here defending the men, right? Karine said, I think it's even worse for the person whose idea was, this is what I was going to say. Oh, Karine, read my mind. She read my mind. You just mentioned that women tend to be the ones feeling more of the pressure, right? I think that is because in most cases, and at least most of the persons that I deal with newcomers, the woman is the ones who pushed the idea of immigration. They literally shoved it down their husband. The amount of conversations we have had on the unwind about how to convince your husband to migrate is astounding. We have had women who did complete PowerPoints, presentations showing why we should migrate, right? So when you migrate and you get here, well, yes, the pressure is on you. I remember when my family and I was in the lobby of the hotel without a place to stay. My husband at the time looked at me and the way if the world could have opened up and swallow me, that would be good. Because it's like, okay, it's my fault. It's my fault.
I got us here.
This statement is my fault, right? So I think that actually is the initiator as to why women feel so much pressure. But let's go back to this 50-50 thing.
Let's do it.
Life here is stressful. I get it. Life here is stressful. So Nick wants to know, what's the issue with 50-50, right?
Okay. So, Nick.
I honestly think that there's no issue with 50-50, except that women and it isn't 50-50. If it was really 50-50, it won't be an issue. If the couples were really splitting the workload 50-50, if you were coming home and doing the dishes and cooking and taking care of the children, and you know the children's teacher's name, and taking sick days when sick days are needed, and staying up at night worrying when the children are sick, and thinking about education for the children, and oh my god, the children, this one don't know how to read properly, and who don't know math, and if you're taking on that emotional responsibility as well as paying 50% of the bills, I don't think that would be an issue.
Correct. We're talking about true 50-50. The problem is nobody can agree what a true 50-50 is. And that's exactly it. You cannot agree on it unless you go down to the level of literally, writing down every single responsibility you both have and then saying, okay, who does what? And you look at it and guess what? No two things are weighted equally either.
Yeah.
Right? Taking out the garbage is not the same as staying up all night with your kid sick. It just isn't, right? So exactly. It is very hard to be a true 50-50 unless you are comfortable, you've had that discussion. So, to answer Nick's point, there's nothing wrong with it if you are a true 50-50 situation. And I don't mean you do 10 things in the house, I do 10 things in the house. I mean that there is no feeling between no animosity between the two that says, I don't feel like I'm valued, I don't feel like I count, I don't feel like what I do matters. No, you actually feel like you appreciate each other. You feel that even if at times I'm doing more or at times you're having to do more because I'm busy, it still feels equal. Only the people in the relationship will know that. And unfortunately, like you said, moving here is a stressful thing. It adds a lot of stress on even a healthy relationship. So it really takes a lot of discussion and a lot of, aside from that, practicality. So take emotion out of it. Sit down with somebody that looks at your incomes and says, here's what you need to do. Here's what you need to do.
So Corinne said, until we can choose which parent to carry that child, 50-50 is a myth. Until we can choose which parents carry that child. Like, okay, I will carry the first one, you carry the second one.
Yeah, right. That would be amazing.
I've never heard that perspective. And then Audrey saying you can always DM us after the meeting or call us. Yes. And you could always as well go to Upro in the finance tab and book a call directly with Vajida and Andre. All right.
Yeah. Trust me, half of the calls are talking about stuff like this.
It is a big issue, actually. I don't think people understand how much friction having different concepts of finance and who should do what and gender roles, these things cause huge friction in settlements, right? Things like one person gets a job before the other. It's stressful for the person who's working. It's also stressful for the person who's home.
Correct. Yeah.
Right? These things cause huge periods of friction in settlement. I've even seen it to the point where it causes catastrophe if the two people can't find a middle ground.
Yes.
Right.
Because you're already in a new environment. Your kids are settling into, if they're old enough, right? And there's just so much going on and you're learning new things day by day. Maybe one of you makes a decision for the family, let's say financially, and oops, it was a mistake.
It was a mistake, yeah.
Right? That happens.
Guilt, shame. Woo.
Yes. So it's a tough area to navigate. I will say that, but these things can be looked at factually. They can be looked at without emotion. It just takes, you need to be out of the picture to look at it like that. Everyone's emotional about their money, right? Even we have a financial coach because guess what? Nobody can be as emotional, as non-emotional, non-biased with their own money as somebody else, right? So it's best to have someone say, guys, don't care what your issues are and how your marriage is. Here's what you need to do, right? Take the emotion out of it.
Do you have any other questions for Vajida? Because see the comment section going off. I
want to know that question that somebody didn't want to ask because Andre was there. Let's do it.
Someone said that's so true. Happy to right? So it is stressful. settlement is stressful. 50-50 is always a issue, right? But then another concept too that I've seen, we have these sprinkle ladies, who feel like men should be paying 100%, right?
Mhm.
And like if you want if you want a happy wife, you should be prepared to take the financial burden off of that person, right? However, it's not practical because not all men are financially capable
Yeah.
of providing for their families 100%. What is your opinion on the thoughts on this concept? I know, training under the bus here. Give it all the time. What is your opinion on the train of thought that men should date within their budget?
Men should date within their budget. Okay. So I think that with the era of online dating and people being very upfront about these things early on when they start talking, it's a lot easier to navigate this than it ever has been. People talk about these things very early on in relationships or in dating, let's call it, right? I think you should be clear upfront what your expectation is and not bother moving forward in the relationship if you're not in agreement. Because guess what? For every female that doesn't want to work, wants to stay home, maybe raise the kids, maybe be a homemaker, there's a guy out there who doesn't want his spouse to work. There is. There absolutely is. There is. And vice versa, right? For every female, for every male who's like, actually, I really like being at home and I'm happy to raise the kids. Very few, but there are. There are some. There's a female who's like,
take charge. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a female who's like, it's my life's ambition to be super successful at XYZ. I
Right.
need somebody to stay at home with the kids. I'll have them because I don't have any other choice, but I want to be at work. There will be a right guy for that, woman. I think you should be upfront though. Where we see disaster is where people are going into a relationship with two different expectations and they don't even communicate it, right? Like one person's expecting the wife to also take care of everything at home and also work and also have dinner on the table and the wife's like, what just happened? Like that.
And also turn over the night every time you hit the shoulder and be happy about it.
Yeah. So like, okay, well, we should have had this discussion right before. If that's what you wanted, that's fine. Why didn't we talk about it? So my thoughts are, there's nothing wrong with if a woman, stipulates that I don't want to work. This is what I will contribute to the marriage. I don't agree with, as a female, I do not agree with women who says, I just don't want to do anything. Well, why do I need you? Why does a guy need you? I'm sorry.
Maybe, I don't know, maybe to bring other I don't know, girl. I don't know.
Some value, but like you said, some value, bring some value. Whether it's that you are making sure the house is clean, making sure that you're entertaining people, you're taking care of the extended family, maybe the grandmother, I don't know, some value. You both have to bring value to the relationship. It doesn't have to be monetary. It does not have to be monetary.
I love that. She gave us a very diplomatic answer. I love that. Right? Non-biased, but from the perspective. So here's a question for you. Do you believe in the idea of a secret stash?
Oh,
and how do you go about that in Canada, especially when you have to file taxes? Side note, don't sell out yourself, Wajida. You can't plead the fifth.
Okay. First off, just touching on the taxes thing, don't do anything illegal. Step one. I will say.
Speak to your accountant.
Right. Yes. Let's talk under the declarable income ratio, right? Threshold. Let's talk about that. So we're talking about smaller sums. Secret stash. Are we talking secret from your spouse?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is a very interesting question because I have friends and family who do this. Okay. They do this for multiple reasons. They do it because if there's ever an emergency and, they need a fund to access, they do this because maybe the spouse doesn't approve of the spending, right? They do this because it's, like you said earlier, it's my money. You're the guy. You should be taking care of all the house bills. This is my money to do with what I want. Right?
So I'm going to siphon it to the side. So you're still going to be, you think we're being 50-50, but we're actually paying 70-30. Because
Yes.
I am siphoning 20% out. Yeah.
So I'm going to give my absolutely honest opinion here.
Yes.
Don't come at me,
Please.
guys. I disagree with it.
Ooh.
I disagree with it. If you have to do this, then the problem is not with your finances. The problem is in your relationship. I'm sorry. That's my opinion. Inherently, there's something that needs to be improved on in your relationship, in your overall situation. So you need to work on that. You need to seek expertise, whether it's therapy, whether it's financial expertise, whoever you can lean on that needs to help you with your situation so that you don't have to do that to each other. You don't have to hide, because the moment one person starts doing that, the other's going to start resenting them if they find out or anything like that. Now, what you can do is tell your spouse, because I've also seen this. This is very cute. I've seen a couple do this where the husband knows that she squirrels away money. She tells him, oh, yeah. Oh, you have a $20 bill there? Give it to me. So she just collects it, right? And before you know it, there's $2,000, $3,000 in a year there. He knows she's collecting it, but he doesn't know the amount or anything like that. Make the person aware that it's happening, and they don't need to know the details. And you can say, you don't need to know how much it is. This is something I'm doing for us in case we ever need an emergency. Sash, you don't need to know how much in there. But to do it with the thought of hiding it entirely means there's a trust issue there. But that's my opinion. I also understand every marriage is different. I'm blessed to be in a healthy marriage. So
I get you. I think, okay, at first I was like, girl, but then after I was like, yeah, I think where it's coming from, and of course you have exceptions, right? I think an exception will be in some cases, secret stashes are meant for runaway money when you're in an abusive relationship, right? So sometimes, in some cases, secret stashes means
that would be the caveat where you are trying to get away from a situation. That's a whole different problem. Now you need all the help you can get. You need your friends, you need your family, you need everyone's support. You are trying to remove yourself from that situation. Yes, 100% you need to do that. But if you are hoping to live with this person the rest of your life, please don't do it. Try and find another way. But if you want to leave the situation, and we do see this, of course, we see, refugee status, we see all sorts of situations where someone needs to get away, do it. 100% do it with the help of someone on the outside so that they're aware of the situation. There is such a thing as financial abuse. In Canada, I can't speak for other countries, but in Canada, there is such a thing as financial abuse. What does that mean? It means maybe one person doesn't work. This is often the female. Maybe they don't work, or maybe they work and they don't earn as much, right? They don't earn as much because maybe they're working part-time because they're at school or they're taking care of the kids. And the other person has a control, and it can be male or female. They have control over the entire finances, and they won't let you do anything with the money. Why do you need this money? Why do you need so much money for gas? Where are you going? Why did you go for coffee again with your friend? This starts to weigh on people, right? So there is such a thing as financial abuse, and it's a horrible situation to be in. I gave you $200 for groceries last week. Why do you need more? What are you doing with that money? So I get it, right? Then you're in that situation where, like, I need to squirrel away some money. I need to have a secret stash. So different situations. Obviously, no two situations are the same.
Yeah. When I think about secret stash, those are the kind of situations I automatically think of, like situations where you don't feel safe. You don't feel safe to tell the person that you're saving this money to the side, right? So someone said, culture. Sorry, what's that?
Unfortunately, the ones I've seen they're just hiding it for shopping.
So two different worlds. What's that? In our culture, we are taught to have vex money, just in case. We learned that from real young. And I think in some cultures, this vex money could be an event that you need to run away, right? But then there's always the situation, and we all have heard the stories of a man trading in his wife for a younger version.
Oh, good
right?
point. Yeah.
Yeah, we have all heard these stories. Like everything was good when we were young, or everything was good when we were in our home country, and then we migrated, and now he has options. He has options. So trading in Betsy for Ferrari, right? And I think that's like the mindset of vex money, right? So in one
Yeah.
day when you decide, especially if that person is a higher earner, one day when you decide I'm no longer of use to you and I am left to decide, at least I have this money that I have saved like a nest egg for myself to keep myself comfortable within that situation. All right.
Well,
I
the
know.
good thing is in Canada, it's all 50-50 unless you had a prenup. So first of all, you are protected for the assets that you have here, right? You are
Right.
protected. I say that because a lot of times people have assets back home. So for the assets that you have here, you are protected because everything is 50-50 when you
Mm-hmm.
get divorced, or even if you're common law, right? Even if you're common law. So there is that protection in place. However, I get what you're saying from a cultural perspective. Even in my background, it used to be women hang on to their gold, right? You keep your jewelry, it's yours. That is what protects you, right? Because it used to be what we had of value back when. That's what everything was
Interesting.
measured by, gold. So it was, that is yours. No one's supposed to touch that. So every culture kind of had that element for
That vex
females.
money kind of
Yeah,
into
yeah,
it. Yeah.
you did.
Interesting.
And I see that. Now I have seen situations where, whether it's people who have learned from their experiences and maybe they've gotten remarried, they do prenups sometimes, right? Because maybe one earns a lot more than the other, so they'll do prenups, or they'll have these contracts in place that stipulate, this is mine, this is yours, this won't be touched, this will be shared. So you can do that. However, if you're already in the relationship and you're moving here, don't know what's going to happen, don't know if he or she's going to trade you in, then you're in the blind. You don't know if that's going to happen, right? So
Mm-hmm.
all you can do is make sure that your assets are joint, protected, and you have access. You should be aware, both people, of what we have, what's in the account, where is it going, where is it allocated, where is it moving around to. Don't just let one person handle it all. Be aware. You can let one person handle it, but be aware of where the money goes and comes, what accounts it goes to, where it's being sent to, if it's being sent elsewhere, abroad, so that if anything, God forbid, happens, you are protected. You have evidence of where the funds were, so that it can be distributed evenly in the worst case scenario.
You actually bring up a good point here. Like legally, women are protected in Canada against that sort of manipulation
Chivalry.
later on in life, right? Trading you in and just leave you to the wayside, right? Women are protected to some extent. Here, interesting. So maybe the need for a nest egg is not as prominent as compared to the places where we aren't really that much protected. Someone said, I understand, buy gold.
That's what my mom would say.
I get you, buy gold. So, Regina, in totality, and just coming down, summarizing here, right? And for those of you who are on Upro, if you don't have Upro, what you doing? Go to the App Store, download Upro the app, go to the Finance tab, book a call with Regina and her other half, Andre, in the Finance tab under Financial Coaches Canada, and they'll provide a complete assessment and give you all of the steps that you need towards your journey towards financial freedom, right? I just wanted to kind of sneak in a question here. It has nothing, it doesn't really, it's kind of a bit off topic, right? But I wanted to find out. Right now, financially, things are a bit shaky. Right? Things seem to the US Canada trade war, stocks plummeting, like everything is just like, what should people be doing right now to set themselves up, even in this time of financial uncertainty?
Very good question. We've been getting that question a lot, of course. When you speak the language of money, you think about this situation very differently. So Andre and I and other financial advisors who understand how this works don't look at this as doom and gloom. Not at all. We look at it as, oh, okay, more stuff happening in the world. Okay, it's an opportunity, right? It's like things are on sale, invest, right? Now, we always say, do not time the market, right? It's about the time you spend in the market. So we always say, don't do anything differently. Continue to take advantage of something we call dollar cost averaging. I just put up a post about it on our Instagram. continue to invest routinely, because if you invest weekly, monthly, and your money is hitting the markets consistently, you don't care about what is happening out there. And the average person shouldn't. They really shouldn't, because your funds and the allocation should be handled by the experts. You just need, your job is to make sure that out of your bank account, money is going into an investment, whether it's a TFSA or an RSP, and you're investing routinely and regularly. Do not care about what is happening out there. Just keep doing that, because whether the markets are going up or down, your money is hitting, and you are buying when it's low and you're in there when it's high as well. Do not sell, right? Just because you see, oh, it looks like it's high. Yeah, I'm going to make some money, right? No, just keep consistently buying. Second is, things have always happened, right? If you go back in history, you look at COVID, you look at prior to that, things have always happened. All sorts of things have happened in world history and in Canada that would affect the stock market, that would affect real estate, right? Everything like that. You just need to make sure your habits are right and kind of ignore the noise around you. Make sure that you are doing what is right for your plan and not what you're hearing, not the noise out there. Because what does it matter? For example, if let's say you live in a home you own and prices are falling all around, why do you care unless you're selling? You literally shouldn't care. You literally shouldn't care. Same thing applies to anything else, right? If you are investing, but you're far from retirement right now, why does it matter, right? You don't care. You're just setting and forgetting it, right? So I would say ignore the noise, right? And just keep on with your plan. And that plan should be a vetted plan, right? Get myself to look at it that says, makes sense. You're good. You're not planning for 2 years down the road. You're planning for 5, 10, 20 years down the road. Focus on your goals. Focus on what will get you there. Things fall apart around us all the time. It is status quo for the world, right? Ignore it and just keep on with your plan.
Yeah, not just for Canada, for the world. You're correct. For the world, I think all major economies right now are going through a huge chaotic transformation. But in
the end, what does it truly affect, right? It affects our grocery prices, right? What does it truly affect on a daily basis? It will impact our grocery prices. It will impact how we shop a little bit. Okay, modify that, right? Maybe you need to, unfortunately, buy less red meat and eat more chicken and rice for, a couple of months. Like, fine, right? We need to do that. We need to go to no frills versus longos, whatever, right? It may impact our groceries, but how much is it going to impact the overall picture will depend on each person's situation. If you're not buying or selling a home right now, you don't care about real estate. Right. If you don't have kids, you don't care about, prices of universities going up. Like, it depends on your situation. So I would just say focus on what should matter to you. Sometimes we get inundated with, okay, well, this happened in the States. The president said this. Okay, this is happening here. What is relevant to you? Just focus on that. That's it.
Yeah, you're talking the language. Like, I did a post about that recently where this existential dread needs to just stop it. Like, half these things I'm seeing and hearing, all of these hot takes on this and that and what will happen. I was like, listen, I can't. I just can't.
We're just going to keep doing strange stuff.
Yeah, I want to be aware, but I don't want to be driven to anxiety. You know what I mean? And I think that is very anxiety inducing when you take everything literally and see everything as like a falling rock from the sky.
It's very stressful. We already have enough going on. Right?
Yeah, we definitely have enough going on. Okay, so in closing, Vagina, going back to the topics, I drifted a little bit. Going back to the topic, what advice do you have for newcomer women? Apart from booking a call with you in the finance tab of Uproot, right? What advice do you have that will make the biggest impact for them as they navigate their life settling in Canada?
I think that immigrant women are already doing this, but it's taking ownership. Like you said, it's already so much on their plate, but I think you are already doing this, right? When you move here as a female, maybe we were the ones to say, let's do this. We were the ones to push. We do take that ownership and we say, okay, let's get our ducks in a row. Let's get things in order. I think that is already happening in the community. Most often it's the female booking a call with us, right? And by the way, that's whether it's a new immigrant or not, which is interesting. Yeah,
Hmm.
exactly. It is. Women tend to take the lead when it comes to finances within a home. When there's a couple, we do see that everywhere. So it is not unique to new immigrants. So be okay with that. That okay, you know what? You want it to be in order. I'm going to take charge of it, and then take some of that burden off. Like you said, book a call with us. Take some of that burden off and say, tell me what to do so I can set it and forget it, and don't have to worry about it on a daily, monthly, weekly, yearly basis.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would say, be okay with the fact that you're in charge. That's okay. You want to be in charge. You want to know what's up with finances. You want to be in that room when someone says, hey, have you heard about, how people do these RSP loans and these spousal RSPs and take advantage of this? You want to be in the person in the room that says, yes, I do know that. Actually, I have this money guy. He was talking to me about this, this, this. And you want to be empowered and know that I know how to speak money. I know what I'm doing. I came here with, $5,000, and I've understood the system, and I know that I'm setting myself and my kids up for a good future. So take that ownership is what I would say. It's going to be hard at first. It's a lot of information coming at you. But once you start on that journey, you're going to feel great that you figured out your finances in a whole new different climate, and that you're doing things for your family, and you're taking charge of it and making sure everyone's going to be okay. So that's what I would say. I'd say feel good about it. There's nothing wrong with it.
Feel good about it.
Amongst other things that we're doing. We're really tired.
Yeah. But it does feel good to know like that financial independence number.
Right?
Is that
Yes.
what was the name of it,
The
right?
number,
So,
yeah.
Andrea and I met and we calculated my financial independence number. I was like, okay, all right. Like it makes sense. Like, okay, what I'm doing makes sense. Like I'm not just doing all
Right,
of
not
this.
working in the blind, right?
Yeah.
I'm doing this for something. If I hit this, I can retire. If I hit this, I can, maybe spend less time working.
Yeah.
Work with work with some tangibles, right? And then
Yeah.
you'll feel better. You'll feel less stressed. I love the fact that when people meet with us afterwards, they say, okay,
Yeah.
okay, now I know what I need to do.
So
Okay, now I feel less
okay.
stressed.
There's a plan. I'm not just working, making money, spending money, right? Because I see this very often, not with newcomers, but with all comers. They've been here 20, 30 years with nothing really tangible to show at the end. And I mean, not everybody wants to buy a house or have a fancy car, right? But the goal is to be able to at least retire.
Right.
Right? The goal is to be able to have a nest egg to retire. Most immigrants come here thinking that we're going to earn a lot of money, which is true, without understanding that we also spend a lot of money to live here.
Yeah. And it's not about what you earn, it's about what you keep.
What you
right?
keep. Yeah, we earn a lot of money compared to our home countries. We earn multiple times more, but we spend more. Right? And after a while, it becomes like dollar for dollar. It does.
Yeah.
After a while, it loses. At first, when you land, you start calculating everything because you're translating it back to your home country.
Then you stop, right? Yeah.
After a couple of years, you stop because and it literally doesn't feel any different because you're earning and spending in the same currency. Bills are expensive here. You earn a lot of money here as well. So it kind of balances out. It becomes like dollar for dollar. So it's very easy for that initial joy of when you get your first paycheck and you're like, whoa, you know what this could buy back home? Like I could buy my whole country with this.
You're not back home.
This to buy, right? That initial joy does fade over time as you get settled, right? So before you know it, that initial, I make so much money becomes, I'm ready to retire. But
so it's interesting because if I was to compare newcomers, versus old comers, what's very interesting is maybe because you get used to the financial situation here, and we weren't taught financial literacy in our schools. A lot of people who are Canadian or who have been Canadian for a long time, rather, don't know their fin. They don't know when they're going to retire. They're just trying to figure it out day by day. Whereas I actually see people who are moving here because they're moving here with a purpose, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're moving here with a purpose. They're like, oh my God, I'm entering a completely new world. They're actually more on top of it. And I think that's fantastic. They're more on top of it. They're like, wow, okay, let me get my, my act together. And let me make sure that I know what I'm doing. Oh my God, I don't know how to figure out my credit score. I should learn that. And what's this tax situation like, right?
Mhm.
Whereas when you grow up here or you're here from when you're much younger, you just kind of float along. And it doesn't mean you're doing great. You're very right. It doesn't mean you know what you're doing or you know when you're retiring. So the commonality that we see in people who are on the path to financial success and security is that they have a plan and they have good habits that they're following. That's what we see. And I don't care if you are divorced, you are single, you're in a happy marriage, an abusive marriage, or, you know, in the middle of dating, whatever is happening. It's all about the habits and what you're doing with whatever you have, right? And whatever the situation is that you're in. And so that's what I would say is that get a plan together.
I love that. I think that's the perfect way to end this interview here, right? So for those of you who just came in, we just a recap. We spoke about 50-50. We spoke about having a secret stash. We spoke about if you should date within your budget, rolls eyes, right? All of the attitude, right? And then we finally rounded it off to not having anxiety over fluctuations in the market, as well as having a plan and the importance of having a plan. And that there is a good.
We know how Khalees feels. We know how Khalees feels. The eye rolls give it away.
Yeah. I have some strong opinions on this, but it's because of my life. It's because
we all come at situations depending on what we've witnessed, what we've experienced, right? I would say something different. Maybe, you know, if my situation were different, maybe if I had kids, my situation would be different. I get it. I completely understand that my thought process with finances might not be the same as a single mother or as a mom who is you know, working full time while her spouse is studying and she's also raising the kids. I get it. It's a different situation. I'm not that person, right? So I do understand that.
No, but your perspective was welcome because we get a nice difference. It was perfect. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing your knowledge and your personal experience as well with us. Guys, Dan Andre are the best financial coaches Canada for a newcomer. Every single newcomer that comes to Upper, we always highly encourage them to book with Vajida and Andre because I personally have seen and I've heard the difference it makes in your life when you're financially aware from the beginning rather than after you've made the mistakes. Trying to undo some of those mistakes could take years. Right? So getting information up front is going to be critical towards mapping out your plan and having a successful life in Canada. All right. So thank you very much, Vajida and Andre. Head to Upper the app and book those calls. And you have any final words for us before we end the live?
No, I just say thank you. This was fun, you know, not my usual thing. You guys don't usually see me. This was amazing, but you know, I love watching your stories. I'm always aware of what's going on. We love chatting, right, on Insta. So it's fantastic. You know, what you're doing here is phenomenal. It's so wonderful to watch as, you know, woman to woman. You know, I definitely admire what you're doing for both women and men and everything in between out there, right? What you're doing for new immigrants, I really admire it. I think it's amazing. It's so phenomenal. Your success is all of our success. So keep on doing what you're doing. It's fantastic to watch you.
Awesome. All right, Vajida, thank you. Take care. Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.
And there we have it. Another episode of The Unwind. Done, locked, and loaded. For persons who ask, where do you see The Unwind? It is saved, but it's over on YouTube. So you can either check out Kelly's Travels on YouTube, or you can check out Upro on YouTube, and you'll be able to see those replays. And remember, The Unwind is sponsored by Upro, Immigrant app. And with that, you'll have a great Friday evening. Remember, the journey is the prize. Bye, guys.